Hello. This is our monthly Ask Me Anything. If you're watching the replay, you may have noticed other Ask Me Anythings on our channel here at AWC. And this month's topic is managing ADHD through alternative methods. And alternative methods, what the theme is we're talking about, are things that aren't typical. Alternative methods make sense, such as hypnotherapy, microdosing, with say psychedelics, cold exposure, breath work, meditation, different somatic practices or work, or anything else in that realm, nootropics as well. So that's the theme this month. As Ask Me Anything's how they operate. Essentially, you come on and ask us questions. We do have some pre-sent in questions, and we take those from our email community. So we'll usually start with those, and then as people are joining live, we open it up to you guys to ask us any questions about this month's topic. So without further ado, my name is Gaia Broda. I'm the founder here at ADHD Wellness Co, also known as AWC, and I am a late diagnosis ADHDer, which I know many of you are as well. And you may know me from this YouTube channel. Previously, before AWC, it was fitness and ADHD, as really helping you stick to exercise, get fit, whether gain strength, lose weight, or just manage your ADHD through more consistent movement. And that ended up just expanding into holistic living and looking at all different aspects on how to manage your ADHD by using wellness principles such as improving sleep, managing stress, improving your nutrition, and of course, movement as well. And really what I have found personally and through my own life and how I've managed ADHD, and of course, what I'm very intrigued on and what a lot of studies back it up, is through biohacking and how we can use our own body's innate power, its resources, its ability to thrive in life. And that also means managing ADHD. So that's what we do at AWC here. We're going to show you, if you have ADHD, diagnosed or not, exactly how to manage your ADHD med-free through biohacking. When I say med-free, I say we don't talk about medication management. We are giving you alternative ways to manage your ADHD that don't include pharmaceutical meds. That doesn't mean we med shame. I feel like there is a purpose to taking medication, maybe for a short period of time, long period of time, maybe not at all. It just really depends on the person. And we here to give you other solutions and strategies that aren't medication based. That doesn't mean you can't do them all on medication or non-medication. It doesn't matter to us, but we're giving these other strategies. Of course, disclaimer, before starting or stopping medication, please talk with your trusted healthcare practitioner. And same thing, anything we talk about today or in any of our content, if you want to start something or stop something or try something, always talk with a trusted healthcare professional, someone you trust that is experienced in this, because everyone is unique, and how you react to things is also very unique. Okay, without further ado, let's dive in. Okay, so if you have a question and you're joining, just put it in the chat and we will answer it. It's just myself today answering the questions. And if you're watching the replay and you do have a question, we always welcome those. So you can comment on the video your question, or you can send us an email, which is ADHDwellnessco@gmail.com. Excellent. Okay, so our first pre-submitted question, let me just check here, is, okay, so for the alternative methods, we had quite a few different ones, and we had a lot of curiosity on how each of them work. What are the effects? So let's talk a little bit about that. And I have some notes too, so I might be just kind of jumping around with my eyes here. Bear with me. So the first then question would be, how does microdosing with psychedelics work for ADHD? Does that work? How does it work? And let me fill you in on that. So there has been a lot of new research out about microdosing with psychedelics, whether that's psilocybin, LSD, MDMA. I know a lot of the research has been on psilocybin. I've also had personal experience with that as well. And what happens when you take it at a microdose, which is about 1/10 of, say, a hallucinogenic, oh man, I can't even say the word, dose, like a bigger dose, a fun dose, about 1/10 of it, is it interrupts your neurons. So when you do microdose, you have this increased ability to make new neural connections in your mind. And our brains are neuroplastic, which means they are moldable. We can change them. We can create new belief and new thought patterns. So when you microdose, it's been shown that you can actually create new neural pathways easier. And there's other ways to do that, but it really opens up to that. It also interrupts current behaviors or habits. And why this is beneficial is that if you are stuck in a bad habit and you want to break that, doing a microdose can really help that because it's going to interrupt that. So then you can lay the groundwork or the new neural pathways to create a habit that serves you. So say perhaps you're numbing with food, you're just binging on food because it's your tool to numb emotions with, and that has now turned into just an automatic habit, even if you're not using food to numb. So say you often binge at night because you're avoiding feeling the stress from the workday. So maybe on days that you're not stressed, you're totally fine. You're still binging with food in the evening because it's now a habit. But with microdosing, where you're able to interrupt that pattern, that habit, you can start to break that pattern and perhaps then introduce a new habit that serves you, or just break it all together and stop it. So it really, it gives you the chance to work with your brain because it is moldable, and it gives you that opportunity. I have some other notes here I want to just touch base on so I don't forget. You'll notice this a lot with any of our alternative methods we talk about, and for most med-free management solutions for ADHD, is the benefits sound very much the same. Improved mood, improved energy, improved focus, and less inattentiveness. Less emotional roller coasters, improved immunity. They all kind of cross over. So with microdosing, it's been seen, of course, improvement in a lot of mental health disorders, such as, depression, anxiety, I believe also bipolar, I think schizophrenia, and ADHD. And of course, it's also going to, help mood, helps focus. It aids all of those things as well. But the main reason, or the main effect they saw on long-term change, is that you can create these new neural pathways and break old ones. So another example could be, there's lots of ones I've done in conjunction with a hypnosis, a meditation. It's also suggested to do with a psychotherapist. So if you're microdosing, you can use that in addition to, say, doing hypnotherapy, where you're going deeper to lay new neural pathways on a habit you want to create, and now you're aided even further with a microdose, or doing it in conjunction with therapy. And that could be, it could just be emotional regulation, of not freaking out when you get upset and not feeling intense rage, but able to work through that and find calm and find alternative ways to react in situations such as that. The other thing about, as I look at my notes here, about microdosing that I found personally, and I really, really love microdosing. I'll share a bit more in a second, but being more in the present moment and more mindful. So I found personally, this has also been shown, as studies have said, it improves your focus, decrease of inattentiveness, is I was more attentive. I would notice the small things in my day. I would notice the colors of the tree a little bit more. It's like, wow, that's a really nice shade of green. I would notice just, my neighborhood block. I was like, oh, I didn't know that door was that color. Or I'd look at the lights. I was like, wow, the light fixtures are actually, like, wow, they're really quite beautiful if you really take a second to look at them. So I was noticing more in my day, which put me in a better mood, made me more calm, more attentive. I'm also able to focus on things for a longer period of time with not a scattered, frantic energy, but a very calm energy, very calm, proactive, without, I mean, it can fall into like a hyper focus, but there is so much intention behind it that I could decipher that I've done enough work on this. It's time to change to something else. It's time to switch tasks. Now, I started microdosing after trying pharmaceutical meds. I think it was Vyvanse and Adderall, and was not for me. I have more of my story on YouTube here. You can go watch that. But I am very much a self-experimenter. I'm intrigued by a lot of stuff. I'm going to try it, test it out, see for myself. So when I tested out microdosing, I noticed these effects right away. And I did a 1 day on, 2 day off protocol. So you still feel the effects on the next day, and then kind of a day off, and then you take a dose again. And I noticed on the day of, the day after, and sometimes on the third day too, I was having like just so much focused, intentional time in my workday. The benefits were amazing. And I'm been microdosing for a couple of years now. So I love it. I'm a big believer of it. I don't do it currently just because I haven't really had the need for. And that's also come off of many years of doing what I teach here at AWC is biohacking and managing ADHD through these alternative methods and med-free methods. And I find I don't need to rely as heavily on a lot of these methods because I've created so much growth and such a toolkit. So if you have any more further questions on that, put in the chat or comment. You're watching the replay or send me an email. Happy to chat more about it. Of course, follow the rules, your laws of your country and municipality and district, and always talk with trusted healthcare professional on if you do want to do microdosing. Okay, that is microdosing. Let's see what else we got. Let's switch over then to breath work. That is something that wasn't specifically asked, but I want to talk about it because I am a big advocate for breath work therapy. So breath work can mean a lot of different things. It's anytime we're doing focused, intentional breathing. And most of us have had some sort of experience with it, whether it's like a breathe in for 4, breathe out for 8, like a slow exhale, or maybe it's box breathing, which I know is talked about a lot in ADHD, which is, breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4, hold for 4. So it's an even box, essentially, what you do. There's like deep belly breathing, which I think is often used in yoga, just for calming, relaxing. All of these that I've mentioned so far, they all have benefits depending what you're using it for. A lot of those are really good for calming yourself down and regulating your nervous system, coming back to a rest, calm state. Love it. Good to use in the moment at any moment. The one I want to talk about, there's actually 2, and I'll just mention both, but I'll talk about one. The holotropic breathing, and then the other breath work, it's called a lot of different names. I've heard it called therapeutic breathing. Essentially, it's a 2-part breath. You breathe in twice, in through the stomach, in through the chest, out through the mouth. So there are similarities across the 2, holotropic breathing and this 2-part breath breathing. Holotropic breathing is a bit more like almost like hyperventilating. So you're really oxygenating the blood, really decreasing the CO2, and it's a bit more hallucinogenic effects. So a bit more of that high feeling. So definitely always work with a practitioner on it because it can be dangerous. The therapeutic, the 2-part breath, similar to that, but a little less of that scale, less hallucinogenic, less of the hyperventilating type of what's the word I want to use? Less of like that style, I guess you could say. I haven't done holotropic breathing myself personally, but I've been doing the 2-part breath for about 4 years now. I do it bi-weekly if I can. Sometimes it's a month before I do it again, and then sometimes it's weekly. So I do try to do it on a regular basis. And I'll give you my personal experience and I'll tell you more about the data and the science behind it. But it's 2-bar breaths. You're breathing in twice and out, with your exhale. How I can sum it up when I do this is like a clearing out of your mind and body. You end the session feeling like your mind is not just calm, and I don't want to say empty because it sounds like you have no thoughts, but there's this, it's like a pristine lake where the waters have just quieted down. It's beautiful, the sun's sparkling on the water, and you have this beautiful sense of clarity. It's really feels like you're tapping back into your authentic self before, the ADHD-isms, before the monkey brain comes in, before the programming from society and how you're raised. It's just like this, it's like your clean slate. You're like, wow, I feel just crystal clear of who I am, action I need to take. Your body feels really light. Nothing doesn't feel like anything's being stored. You release a lot of, stored emotions, stuck trauma, stuck stress through the breathing. And it's very blissful. It's very, very nice. And within an hour, the mind can start going again and whatnot. But over time, especially if you do that consistently, I've noticed a significant change in this. So much so that you almost don't realize how much the breath work is doing. The podcast, we are launching it soon. I do want to bring on a breathwork practitioner on it to give us more of the science and data on it. But it's been found that you can decrease anxiety, decrease inattention, increase focus, decrease any emotional distress, decrease PTSD and feelings of trauma. And these are all done in studies, clinical studies, psychological or psychiatric research. And when we're doing it, we're decreasing the CO2 levels, and as we're oxygenating the blood, it slows your heart rate down, it increases calm. You just feel, like I said, this beautiful, clean, calm energy. With that, through the breath work, you'll notice a lot of sensations, tingling, cramping, tightness. The practitioner always explains everything what you may feel. You often have some sort of release, maybe shaking, crying, screaming. It's different all the time for every person. And that release is releasing stored and stuck emotions, stuck stress, trauma, big T or little t trauma, stuff that we maybe have been storing for a decade, 2 decades, our entire life, or maybe just this last week. So it's a great way to tap into our body, and it's a somatic practice, meaning we're, of course, tapping into the body, but we're able to release what's being stuck, and that creates this beautiful sense of calm and peace afterwards. This kind of goes on to another topic of nervous system regulation and how that relates to ADHD and the similarities and the differences. But what I have seen in my own research, what I've heard from other ADHDers, and what I believe is that majority of ADHDers, it seems, at least what I've read and what I've heard, we've had a lot of stress in our life being raised. Maybe stress can be like little t trauma, stuff that really affected us, emotionally, but not constitutes like a big T trauma, like something very traumatic, like a traumatic event, but something maybe ongoing that was very stressful to us, or more traumatic events as well. And that gets stored in our body if we don't have a way to work through it and release it somatically. So breathwork is such a beautiful way to, I say beautiful a lot, stick with me here, but is such a great way to release those stuck emotions and essentially take steps in managing your ADHD. I could talk forever on this. This is a whole going down the rabbit hole, a whole continuing thread of how these things are connected. But the more we can start to release what's in our body, stuck trauma, stuck stress, it gives us another step forward in managing our ADHD, right? If you're not always feeling stressed, high energy, on edge, big emotional outbursts, this constant anxiety in your body, if you're able to start to release that, you have more space to be intentional, to be mindful, to be present, and then you can take steps to manage your ADHD. So that, a little bit of a tangent, but I did want to talk about breath work. Okay, what else do we got here? And again, if you have questions, put them in the chat. Watching the replays, put them in the comments. Totally fine. What else do we have? We have a question on hypnosis. Can hypnosis cure or help mindless eating, binge eating, and help you lose weight? Now, I'm not a hypnosis. I'm not a hypnotist. I'm bringing actually on a hypnotist onto our podcast, which is going to be launched very soon. So stay tuned for that to ask these questions. I've done fun hypnosis. I've been hypnotized a good handful of times for fun. I love it. I also do a self hypnosis pretty much daily in my life. I've been doing that for about 3 years. I love hypnosis. It's a great way, like I said before, the microdosing, to create new neural pathways. So creating essentially new neural connections of habits that serve you, of changing belief patterns. And if we're holding a certain belief that ADHD life will always be hard, that's a really big belief, then if we can start to change that, we're going to have different thoughts like, hey, ADHD life doesn't need to be hard. I can change this. There is hope for me. I am amazing. I am worthy. I have great gifts to share with the world. And that's going to then show differently in your actions and the results you get in your life. That's a very big example. But hypnosis, you drop into a different brainwave, a slower brainwave state. So you're not quite sleeping. You're not quite consciously awake. And that's where our brain is very susceptible and susceptible to change and very suggestible. So you're able to, self-hypnosis, you're talking to yourself. If you're being hypnotized, they're talking to you. You may be responding back. And if you can change beliefs and habits, and you can do it so much faster, not the exact amount, but so much faster in a suggestible state in hypnosis, you're going to see results faster. An example I often say and use for myself, you could say affirmations all day long saying like, one day I'm going to have $1 million. I'm going to have $1 million. I'm going to have $1 million. And maybe in like 10 years time that happens, but you have to keep saying those affirmations because growing up, you never believed that to be true. So you're constantly having to change that belief by saying affirmations. And maybe you'll never believe it, depending how far away you are from believing that, or maybe you will, and that will happen for you. In hypnosis, because you're in a slower brainwave, you're more suggestible, that belief that I'm going to make $1 million is going to be more believable faster. So you don't have to constantly do the affirmations. You could just go into hypnosis and do that. And you could see change right away. You could see the effect of the next day. It may take many sessions. It may take many, many, many sessions, depending how deep-rooted that wound is that you're changing or that belief is. But the result is so much faster. And I've seen this in my own life when I was just doing affirmations and trying to force myself to, not binge eat. I'm just not going to force myself not to do it. I'm just going to drink water instead. It never works. It never worked. When I started doing hypnosis on a lot of different aspects of life, including ADHD management, I saw changes, lasting changes. And that's what sold me on it. So can hypnosis help you stop binge eating or mindless eating, lose weight? Absolutely. I very much believe that, because the reason we do those actions is there's a reason behind that. It could be that we're avoiding feeling feelings and avoiding feeling deep emotions, so we're numbing with food. It could be that our whole life we're told that eating lots is a good thing, right? It means you're healthy if you eat lots. Or we could have been shamed for our body weight, and that now reflects on how much or how little we eat. Like, everyone has a different past and different trauma and stressors that they grew up with in different societal and familial programming. So how we change that in current life, the rate of that depends on the person. It could happen quite quickly. It could take a long time. But if we can use, the effectiveness of hypnosis to do it at a deeper state to really create new neural pathways faster, then why not? So that was a little bit of a roundabout in the answer, but I believe absolutely you can, because those actions that you're taking, numbing with food, binge eating, not being able to lose weight, they're just actions that are based on a thought pattern. The thought pattern comes from a belief. So if we can change the belief at a subconscious level, create a new neural pathway for a new belief, a supportive and assuring belief for ourselves, then that will change the thoughts we have on a regular basis and change the actions we're taking. Previously in the fitness coaching side of ADHD Wellness Co, we don't do it anymore. We don't do one-on-one coaching. We have a membership program instead. But I facilitated that deeper subconscious work. We would go in clients one-on-one, we'd go into hypnosis state to start to change these beliefs and thought patterns we had so they could exercise as whatever their goal was, to make exercise easy, more sustainable, more consistent, find exercise that they loved, eat healthier with ease, and lose weight, gain strength, whatever the goal was for the client. So it works. Absolutely. Okay. Any questions, put them in the chat and we will get to them. Any questions we don't get to as well, we can answer in the next AMA. What else do we have here? Oh, there was also one on cold exposure. And yeah, let's talk about cold exposure. Okay. So if you're in the email community, you would have gotten an email actually about cold exposure a little while ago. Benefits of cold exposure for ADHD. So cold exposure, like I said previously, all of these biohacking tools all have a lot of crossover benefits. Improve mood, improve immunity, improve focus, improve energy, all of the things. So cold exposure also has those whole host of benefits. But if we're specifically talking about ADHD and what you'll get the most from cold exposure, what I've read in research, what I found personally, and what I've heard from friends and clients, is it's going to help expand your nervous system to handle more stress and to be able to find calm. That means, so majority, I should say, like if you have ADHD, your nervous system's also probably dysregulated, and maybe you've taken steps to regulate it, but usually comes with a dysregulated nervous system. Dysregulated nervous system effects, what that looks like is very similar to what ADHD symptoms looks like. There is crossover. It is a little bit different. We won't go into that too much right now. But when you jump into a cold shower or a cold, like an ice bath, you're going to go in like a shock state. When the goal of this in this context is not to just shiver through and like hold your breath and try to make it through for like the couple minutes, but it's rather to sit in the ice bath or the shower and find your calm, regulated breathing. It's to just breathe normal and just be in it. It's finding calm in a period of stress. The ice bath is the stress and you're trying to find calm. It may seem really hard. If you've done it before, it can be very hard. But the goal is not to just shiver in the ice bath and freak out, but to find calm. You may still shiver, but it's to find calm. When we do this, we expand our nervous system's capacity to handle stress. So say you're at work and your boss comes up to you and starts saying like, hey, your report from last week, you screwed this up, this isn't right, you need to relook over this, and you start to panic because you're like, oh my God, I'm a failure. I can never do anything right. I never look at the details. Like, I can't spell right, and I was late handing it in. All the ruminating thoughts come up. That's a period of stress for you. If you practice expanding your nervous system in times like that, you may be able to find a sense of calm either quicker, or you'll have less, or be able to diminish the stress a bit. So say the thoughts start to come up and you're like, okay, I'm feeling very stressed. My body is feeling tight and anxious. I have butterflies in my stomach. I want to run away, or I want to run and hide, but I'm going to breathe and I'm okay. That is how cold exposure can work in real life. So in ADHD, it can also be like, if you have the H in ADHD and you're kind of pinging around the house and you feel this constant like energy, and it's more of an anxiety kind of like butterfly type of energy, like that butterfly feeling in your stomach energy, where it's more of a dysregulated nervous system. So you're like pinging like to thing to thing to thing to thing to thing. That means you're in a stress state if it's from a dysregulated nervous system. But if you're able to like pause and breathe, like, okay, I can stop the monkey mind thoughts for a second. I can stop the physical energy for a second. I'm finding calm while I'm in a stress state right now. So cold exposure is great for that. I find personally it's helpful in the more like acute stressful events, so such as like the workplace example, or say you're having a serious talk with your partner and you're starting to freak out because you're like, oh my God, they're going to leave me. I'm not good enough. This is it. I should just run away. Something like that starts to come up. Thoughts start to come up. You take the pause, you're breathing. You're like, I'm fine. I can stay in this. I can notice the intense sensations in my body, but I'm safe. I can find calm. So that would be like an acute situation where it's happening, something big happening in the moment versus like a chronic thing. And having a cold shower once is not going to create this change, because it helps you expand your nervous system. So the more you do it, right, the more your nervous system can handle stress, the more it can regulate in a stressful time. So I highly recommend cold exposure. However, the caveat is if you struggle with a dysregulated nervous system, meaning you can't really find periods of calm in your day on a regular basis, like that feels unattainable or really hard, I do not recommend cold exposure, because it's actually just going to do more harm than good. It's going to add too much stress to your life, to your day. Cold water is a stress. If you don't have the tools to find calm on a regular basis, that parasympathetic state, then you're just adding more fuel to the fire, and I do not recommend it. So I only recommend it to people who already have or are regulating their nervous system, meaning you're able to find calm. You're able to slow your breathing down during the day. You can find mindful moments in the day. You feel peace and that sense of peace and quiet in your body. That would be, if you're able to find that, then I'd recommend cold exposure. And it can be as simple as ending your shower on cold water for as long as it takes to regulate your breathing. Longer, even better. But if it's just 30 seconds, that's fine too. Ice baths, also great as well if you have access to one. So cold exposure, it's a fun one. I really enjoy it. I love expanding my nervous system in those ways. I'm also personally someone who likes the short and intense things. Like, give me an ice bath that's really cold that I just have to sit in for a minute or two, versus a kind of cold bath, which I have to sit in for a longer period of time to get the benefits. I'll take the very cold bath. Okay, everyone, that wraps up this month's AMA on alternative methods to manage ADHD. Again, if you have questions that come up after, you can comment on the video or send us an email at ADHDWellnessCo@gmail.com. Always love hearing from you. And the themes each month, sometimes it's based on what the community is talking about, our email community. Sometimes just what we feel needs to be shared or said. Often relates as well to what we're creating in our podcast. Podcast is to come. Some of the episodes you can expect. Let me just pull that up for us here. Very excited for it. It's going to be some good ones. We do have hypnotists coming on. We do have a therapist coming on who specializes in psychedelics and the effects of that on mental health and ADHD. We have hormones and ADHD. Can you outgrow ADHD? Effects of stress on ADHD. If you're late diagnosed, but you think you have ADHD, you're undiagnosed. You think you have ADHD, you're undiagnosed, but your doctor, people around you think you're crazy. What do you do? If you're misdiagnosed, what's next? How do you handle that? What do you do? We have dysregulated nervous system and ADHD, human design and ADHD, which will be a really exciting one for you guys to tune into. Okay, if you're not part of the email community, definitely go join. I'll drop the link in the description because I don't think it's there yet. You'll get our dopamine detox morning routine training, and you'll be part of an email community where, you can send us questions ahead of time for AMAs. You find out first dibs on beta testing programs, such as our membership program coming out, and lots of other good freebies. Okay, I'm going to end it there. We'll see you all next month.